Station. Carl Goldman with you. And we're going to talk about traffic right now for a few minutes with my buddy Rick Patterson, who's one of the partners at Owen Patterson Owen. Today was a delight. I got on the 14 freeway, Rick, and it was Christmas light,
Yeah.
which was nice.
Yes.
But you know, and I know there are so many days when the traffic is just jammed, and it's Santa Clarita is not what it used to be in terms of getting across town.
Right.
So I thought we'd talk a bit about traffic, about some traffic safety, and get a better understanding of some of the things we can do to make our lives a little easier when it comes to battling the traffic, particularly during the holidays.
Sure. Well, I think one of the main reasons that traffic gets slowed up, of course, is because of accidents. And statistically, probably 75% of all the accidents occur within approximately 3 or 4 miles of your home. So we can help with the traffic problem by driving safely and being alert. I think it's a good idea to drive as if we're teaching a teenager how to drive for the first time. You know, first thing you do is you scan. You see if there's driveways and cars ready to come out. You see if people are making left turns in front of you. You prepare for what might happen. You act if you have to avoid the accident. And one of the biggest challenges nowadays are half the cars have sensors and half the cars don't. And sometimes people are driving cars to work. They change and drive their wife's car. The wife's car tells you when there's a car in your blind spot. Your car doesn't tell you. People get confused. So there is a little bit of confusion with the new transition to all the technology. But I think there are a lot of things that can be done to avoid the accidents and keep things flowing.
Speaking of new technology, we've seen, a burst, of course, with cell phone usage, and it's illegal to be talking on your cell phone as you're driving, but I can count the cars as I drive by. It's probably 30% or so
Right.
of folks are on their phones.
Well, you could make the city a lot of money through the fine system if you were, one that had the authority to write fines and tickets for people that are using them, and it is dangerous, of course. And the reality is that timing is so important in an accident. If it takes at least 3/4 of a second to take your foot off the accelerator and hit the brakes. If you're going 60 miles an hour, 3/4 of a second, it's too late. And if you're not able to get on and off, and you add another 1 second or a half a second to it, that's the difference sometimes between life and death or serious injuries.
So we've got distracted driving. We have, of course, changing conditions here, particularly on the 5 freeway, where we're dealing with construction all the time. And what we go on automatic pilot as we drive, but driving on the 5, you can't go on automatic pilot because a lane that existed yesterday may not exist today.
I think we have exercised a lot of patience in this valley because we see hope in the future, and we understand that these lanes are going to bring a better flow. The challenge is that behind those new lanes are new homes that are coming. So I think we continue to press for the issues of traffic improvement, wider and more efficient freeways. It just has to be on the front of every politician's agenda, because the understanding in this valley is that transportation problems, meaning traffic problems, are right at the top, if not the top second or third of our concerns, and it's important. The good thing about the city of Santa Clarita and traveling in our own streets is that they have pretty well mastered the system of controlling, monitoring, and changing to the flow of traffic through their control system in the heart of the city to help us. If we hit those lights in the proper sequence and we drive the speed limit, we can go from the 5 freeway all the way across to the end of McBean with green lights. And
right.
It really happens.
On that Cross Valley Connector, and that's been a tribute to the city. We're talking with Rick Patterson, one of the partners at Owen Patterson Owen law firm that's been here for many, many years. And
41.
And you've been in the valley for how many years?
1973.
73. So that back when you were here, there were one traffic light, 4 people here. You could cross town in 42 seconds.
Yeah.
We moved here in 1990. There were 130,000 people here, and we could cross town in 7, 8, 9 minutes.
Yeah.
But I remember back in 1990, one of the traffic maven of Santa Clarita, I call her Connie Warden Roberts, who's no longer alive now, but Connie was beating the drum for the Cross Valley Connector and saying how we're going to have gridlock by the year 2018, where we are today, if we didn't put it in. And thanks to her efforts and a lot of other people, that Cross Valley came in way before that.
Yeah, and there are really exciting prospects on the agenda for the city now also, and that is, my opinion is the real cross-country connector is going to be when they connect Wiley Canyon over to Via Princesa. You connect that, Wiley Canyon, Via Princesa, we're in canyon country in 5 or 6, 7 minutes compared to where we are now. And that cuts right through the heart of it. And of course, there's the challenges of cleaning up the Burmite property. And what I understand, without any specific knowledge about it, is that they are right there. They're right on the threshold of being able to complete that. So you could leave here, get on Wiley Canyon Bridge, go over, and be at Costco in 6 or 7 minutes. That will help, and that'll take a lot of the pressure off Soledad Canyon, et cetera.
Any advice as we now get real close to the holiday season? They're talking about for Christmas and the holidays right now, a record number of people traveling by cars.
Well, I guess some of the obvious things would be have a designated driver. It's one of those things that just needs to be repeated, and somebody needs to volunteer. Somebody needs to encourage people to do that and avoid those accidents, because those accidents are usually the ones that are much more serious, because people lose the sense of speed control and ability to maneuver and avoid accidents. So that would be, I think, right at the top of any party giver's list. Secondly, people are traveling, want to push the limits sometimes, travel late at night or too late. There's distractions in the cars, of course. That'd be a great thing to make a commitment to go free from the telephone, the cell phone for 10 days or something until Christmas in the car. Just see if we could do it, see if we could improve it. In fact, Carl, should you and I make that commitment now between now and Christmas?
I think so. I think that's a great idea. Even the phone, I use the phone in the car on the Bluetooth, but even has to have some form of distraction, don't you think?
Yeah, I have mine right on my lapel, and I think that's easy, but I do find myself talking and then not doing what the teenagers should be doing. The first learning driving tips, scan. We always have to be scanning anything that's going to happen, especially in lane changes. Lane changes are now not, people don't remember that you're supposed to signal 100 to 200 feet before you make the lane change. And so just do some of those basic courtesies for the people behind us. Abrupt braking, keep the distance between the cars, and give time to stop if there is a problem.
We have had a number of conversations recently with the CHP about motorcycle accidents and motorcycle safety. In fact, we're talking to them about a whole campaign starting beginning of the year on that. You, I know, are working with a family because we just lost somebody due to, it was a member of the Elks Lodge, young man in his 40s.
33.
He's 33.
Yeah.
I was only 33 years old, and his life cut short because of 1 second of whatever happened. And
our video that we've obtained now looks like it is about a 2-second difference. Jim Lentini made some comments, about this young man, and he was the hope of the Elks Lodge. That he had been so significantly involved in the Toys for Tots program. They've raised money, they have gathered toys. He helped rejuvenate and lighten the bright lights of their club, of the Elks Motorcycle Club. And he's just a lot of fun and energy. And as far as his ability to help other people and motivate the people in that organization, because Elks does a lot of great service in our community, and they provide a great social environment and a safe social environment. And so he's been very instrumental, and we've lost him. And it is a challenge. Motorcycles. One of the problems with motorcycle accidents, the motorcycle rider, usually you go down, you're going to the hospital, and he gets transported to the hospital, and then the CHP or the sheriffs arrive a few minutes later, and they then are depending on the witnesses, particularly the other driver, as to what happened. So a lot of times with motorcycle accidents, we're starting to behind the eight ball a little bit in representing who or what the facts are and who's liable. And that's exactly the case here in this case. And we're making great progress in being able to establish that he was not at fault.
So one of the things you're looking for, and I know we've been helping to publicize this, is anyone who is either a witness or might have some video or a TV camera showing what happened. You're appealing for them to reach out to you and
Yes.
share that with you.
Well,
So what day did this happen? When did it happen?
December the 3rd. December the 3rd. And
Where was it?
on your, it's like in the afternoon, almost 4 o'clock. And it's on your website and on your Facebook that we did distribute pamphlets up and down that street on both sides, and our investigators have been successful in gathering both photographs of his motorcycle and video of the actual accident, which is a great help for us. And so we're confident we're moving in the right direction.
Carl Goldman with you here on KHTS Radio, your hometown station. We're chatting with Rick Patterson, one of the partners of Owen Patterson Owen, the law firm that's been here in Santa Clarita for many years. And as we heard, Rick was here when there were 3 people in Santa Clarita in the 70s. I want to stick on motorcycles for a minute because one of the discussions we've had with the CHP is a good chunk of the accidents that are occurring happen on the freeway in the carpool lane because the motorcycles in traffic are trying to squeeze through and get to work faster, and the drivers of passenger cars just are distracted, or they're not being proactive. They're not looking out for the motorcycle drivers there, and we're trying to create more of an awareness that there are motorcyclists on the road, and we need to be aware of that. Any tips?
Yeah, thank you, because that's very important. And the vast majority of accidents on the freeway of involving motorcycles are resulting from people who are illegally changing lanes from the carpool lane into the regular traffic lane, or from the regular traffic lane back into the carpool lane. And that's where the focus could be. And the citations probably ought to always be seriously taken and handed out when that happens, because that's just inviting problems and accidents.
So you've done a great job of talking about traffic and safety, and you've done a great job of avoiding wearing the lawyer hat. So I'm going to throw you a question. What should we do if we are in an accident? What's the best steps for us to take?
That's a very good question. I have several children, 5 daughters and 3 sons, and I have talked about it on a regular basis. As we go down the freeway, we see an accident, we try to role play. Say, what would you do, where would you be, and when would you act, and how would you act if you're involved in an accident? And there are a variety of risks. Some of the common risks are when it's a simple fender bender and you don't move the car, you don't get out of the area of danger, and sometimes there are few escape lanes to go to for safety. My position is that if there is an accident and you're trapped in the carpool lane with the center divider, concrete divider, I encourage my children to step over that divider and stand very close to it. You can either stand close to the one where you have a car sitting, and other drunk drivers or people who aren't paying attention come up on that car and they rear end it. That happens over and over. And oftentimes the worst fatalities or the worst injuries come post initial accident. So look for safety, and if you can get to the front, to the right side, get out of the car, get up on the side of the road or the hill or whatever you can, away from the debris that might occur when a drunk driver rear-ends that car they think is traveling at 50 miles an hour and you're not even in it.
And then at that point, obviously they have to call the authorities.
At first, yeah.
Number one. Number two, at some point they need to call their insurance company. And then at some point they should probably touch base with an attorney, correct?
You know, it's always a frustrating time for anybody in that situation. And so if there's serious injury, it is difficult to think ahead as to what should be done. And you should think, first of all, on saving your life, getting health care, getting to the hospital. But at some point, you have to recognize, or your loved ones have to recognize, that gathering information, getting evidence, getting statements, taking photographs is something that should be done. Now, nobody should be going out on the freeway gathering evidence and picking up debris or taking photographs of the skid marks. That should be done by trained, licensed professionals who we have investigators. That's what they do, and they know how to do it. And many of them are retired CHP or sheriffs or reconstruction experts, and that's an important part of preserving your right to exercise a claim against the other insurance company or against your own insurance company and seek reimbursement.
But doing that sooner rather than later, even though you're right, it should be someone like the family or someone else doing it, because I know from experience, usually someone who's in an accident, even a small accident's in a bit of a state of shock.
They are. They definitely are. And interesting, we like to get the statements of witnesses as quickly as possible. And it's much more an advantage for us to get the facts as they were and fresh, get them recorded, and be able to repeat that at a later date when memories fade or when witnesses hear other things that happen, other people think something happened, then it begins to cloud their recollection and memory. So we try to preserve all that. We try to preserve the evidence.
Rick Patterson, thank you so much. How do we get in touch with you?
Well, our phone number is 661-799-3899. Thank you for asking. And our website is opolaw.com.
Okay, and I've got one trick question for you. So if we're driving on the freeway or driving around town and we see Santa in a sleigh, what should be the procedure?
If you see Santa in a sleigh, if it looks like a fire truck, it's Carl. Okay. If it's flying, then you want to just wave and hope that he comes to your house.
Thank you so much. You know, our time's out, but one last thing, and just some food for thought, and maybe we can do a follow-up interview in a few weeks or right after the holidays. We, KHTS does a trip to Sacramento every year for advocacy, and we do a D.C. trip every few years. And we just finished our D.C. trip in September and had a fascinating meeting with the Department of Transportation. And they're looking at travel 10 years from now when we're dealing with driverless cars, where some of the trucks are no longer on the freeway because they're going to be, Amazon's going to be delivering via the air. And so there's going to be a whole different set of ramifications and also some legal issues. I'm wondering if we can invite you back and tackle that at the beginning of the year.
Well, if I'm able to come back in 10 years when that all happens, I'll be grateful to talk to anybody about anything.
Absolutely. Rick Patterson, thank you so much. Your hometown station, Rick Patterson, one of the partners at the law firm of Owen Patterson Owen. All of you and all of us, drive safely. I love the idea of no phones between now and Christmas. I'm going to make that commitment. And if I can do it, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Your hometown station, KHTS.